Hello, my name is Pastor Tim Chiarot, and I want to invite you to our upcoming conference, Reformation 2100. As you know, we are celebrating the 500th anniversary of the Reformation, and for our conference, our primary theme is on the question of authority. And so if during the time of the Reformation, the formal question or the formal issue at hand was, how is one saved? Then the material issue was, by what authority do we determine the answer to that question? In other words, how do we know, by what authority do we determine that one is saved? The Protestants were asserting that the only infallible, inerrant, divinely inspired authority for the church was Scripture. And this is where we get the solas from, particularly sola scriptura. Shortly after the Reformation, or we might say in the wake of the Reformation, Rome reasserted her position of authority in the counter, or what is sometimes called the Catholic Reformation, through the documents of the Council of Trent, and asserted that yes, we do hold to a high view of Scripture, but we also hold to a high view of the Church, and so authority is both in Scripture and in the Church. The issue being between Protestants and Catholics that Protestants said we have an infallible book, but we are a fallible church, and Rome says we have an infallible book and we are an infallible church to interpret and teach that Scripture. But the issue with authority gets far worse as time progresses. While Rome and Protestants debated about the place of Scripture and who is rightly to interpret and teach Scripture, and by what authority we do that, as the Renaissance continues to unfold and during the time of the Enlightenment, human autonomy comes to the forefront, particularly human reasoning, in opposition to divine revelation, such that it begins to challenge not so much the authority of the church as much as it does more directly the authority of Scripture itself. It undermines the divine authorship of Scripture. It's not that it doesn't challenge the church, but ultimately it challenges divine authorship of Scripture. And so the big issue at hand was how this came about through the movement that culminates in something called higher criticism. And so what I want to do in my talk is twofold. I want to look at these challenges to authority and consider them, and challenge us as reformers, as Protestants, about how it is that we are to apply those principles in the future. In other words, what the goal was for the Reformers was always to assert the doctrine of Scripture as being the only infallible and inerrant authority for the church, but also, and secondarily, but also of great importance, and something that's often missed, I think, today in the wake of all of the individualism that is commensurate not only with popular culture, but particularly American Western culture, is the absence of the place and authority of the church in Protestant thinking. So it's not so much that Protestants say that we don't see any place for church authority, rather we do, it's just different than theirs. And so my goal is to assert a proper Protestant ecclesiology. So twofold, we want to look at the authority of Scripture and declaring that as we move forward, and also the authority of the church in order to complete her mission in evangelism and in discipleship and in worship, because a church without authority cannot accomplish the mission that she is given to do here on earth, a church militant, if you will. And so again, we hope that you would come out. We invite you to. We look forward to having you here and hope that we can whet your appetite for further study on the Reformation and the importance of it in both our walks individually and as the church moves forward into the 21st century. May the Lord bless you.